everyone, welcome back to Kanga TV, the home of North Melbourne fans, and welcome to the final video recapping North Melbourne's 2024 trade period. You know what my say was, you know what their say was. Now we're here for your say. I took to social media to ask North fans what they thought of our 2024 trade period. For those of you who do want to join in the conversation, you can find us Kanga TV Show on X and on Instagram. Let's just get straight into it. I am going to read out as many as I can and then let's just have a chat about a few of them. Paul says they knew what they were doing. Brady and Clarko got the right experience in the door. We also still have pick 2 in this year's draft and the future first for next year that we can use to get multiple first round picks. I like that. We will do a video unpacking what North are going to do with this year's pick 2 and next year's future first. The national draft this year is meant to be quite deep and it's, hasn't been this deep for quite some time. And so from my mind, and just this is a real quick tidbit, I think it would be really silly of us to not explore splitting that for a couple of picks inside the top 10. I think anywhere from 6 to 10, 6 to 11, we should be able to get our hands on a couple of picks. We've split pick 1 a few years back. We ended up with Sheasel and Wardlaw, which is arguably the best 1-2 punch in the competition and is going to set us up for the next decade. So we'll talk about that in another video, but yes, I do really agree with what Paul said. We were able to bring in talent that we needed and we still have those top picks, so we might be able to make some moves between now and draft night. The bad/ugly, our fans and the abuse directed at Brady and the club, piss poor. Yeah, unnecessary. I think that the trade period obviously is a really stressful time. It's also notorious for having nothing happen for like 9 days and 20 hours. And then in the last sort of 3 to 4 hours on deadline day, everything seems to happen all at once. I just wasn't really stressed out about it. I feel like it was bound to happen. None of the trades that we brought to the table were brought late. Everything was kind of out in the open basically by the time the trade period began. It's not like we had any of these 11th hour trades that we were trying to scramble to get done. Everything was out in the open. We knew what we wanted. We knew who we wanted to target. We knew they wanted to come to us. And I sort of felt like it was going to get done either way. Arden, I like the idea of trading for experienced players, mentoring our young talent. Wish we made more of a statement. Feels like we sat on our hands a little. Yeah, I don't disagree with you. I think North is in a really difficult position where we are a small club and we've been sitting at the bottom of the ladder for, 5-6 years now. So it is really hard to attract left of field talent, but hopefully we start to move up the ladder and then we sort of see that stuff change as well. I really like this take from Jeffrey. We've got 3 premiership players with AA reps. We've got a kid from Sydney who has been in and around a club that hasn't been out of the finals since he walked in. As a 6th decade North supporter, I recall how it felt when we got Davis, Rantel and Wade. Hard times come no more. Well, fingers crossed. Brent, by the end of it, we ended up getting what we needed, but disappointed that Rawlings prioritised Houston, who wasn't interested in coming to North, over Parker and Daniel, who were interested in coming to North. I disagree with this, and I actually really like that we held in there on the Houston trade right until the very end. I think it shows a sign of resilience. I think it shows a sign that we are really serious about going after the top end talent. And while there might have been a 0 to 1% chance that Houston ended up at North, I think we had to keep ourselves in the frame in case the unimaginable and unthinkable did actually happen. I think it shows a lot of character, and I think that it shows that we see ourselves seriously and we do take ourselves seriously while others might not. And I think a lot of the conversation was around maybe, Port Adelaide were using North as bargaining tools for Collingwood and Carlton, and maybe that might have been the case, but then what happens if the deals with Collingwood and Carlton fall apart and then North is left standing? He made it very clear, Houston, that he wanted to be in Victoria next season, and if North was his only option, I mean, no one's, holding a gun to your head and say you have to play for North, or you stay at Port Adelaide. He didn't have to come. I'm a firm believer, and maybe I'm a bit delusional, but I think that if North was the only option for him to play in Victoria, he would have come. And so I really like that we kept ourselves in the conversation and that we were resilient enough to stand firm and stand our ground despite the external noise until the very end. Damo, my favourite Fremantle fan and a very, very knowledgeable source for all things AFL. From the outside looking in, the club added experience, leadership and flag experience on every line. I love the every line thing, and I actually never thought about that, but it's so true. Jack Darling will be the perfect foil for Nick Larkey and be another marking target the Roos desperately needed for a budding midfield to kick to. Luke Parker will provide really good guidance for LDU to take the next step and improve yet again, while Caleb Daniel will return to his role across halfback that he earned AA honours for. Tick, 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 and to top it off, added a young offensive weapon who will be able to complement Larkey, Darling, Curtis, etc. perfectly in Jacob Constanti. Damo, ever the voice of reason. Thank you. Kat, shout out Kat. Has to be one of the most passionate North supporters I've ever come across, and a Luke Parker stan from day one. So I'm very, very happy that we got the deal done for her alone. For the first time ever, I don't give a about what the media say. I'm so happy, and I actually don't care that we gave pick 25 for Caleb Daniel. I thought I'd be sad about it. We need clean ball use out of defence, and we want Colby up the ground. Luke Parker, though, I was so stressed out about getting the trade done and had several meltdowns. I haven't processed it yet. And to see him mentor George, provide leadership in the middle and help take the burden off LDU at times. Couldn't agree more. And Kat, like I said, I'm glad that we got the job done for you alone. Ben McLean, my very dear friend and co-host of the project, thank you so much for chiming in. Daniel and Parker deal's very good, but having watched Darling play the last couple of years, I can't understand what role he's going to play for you. I have touched on this a couple of times now, but I think Darling's role is actually just to be a physical presence and to allow the likes of Larkey, Zerha, Paul Curtis really flourish. He also does provide a defensive element. He was West Coast's #1 pressure forward over season 2024. And so I think for a club who struggles to retain the ball inside their forward 50, that is such an underrated element that he's going to bring it to the side. And I'm actually really excited for what Jack Darling's going to bring to North. Arden Street Nuff, loved it. Every day that goes on, I'm more okay with losing pick 25. I'm very sure we didn't use a future second or third because Brady plans to trade our future first into this draft. We didn't trade any future picks. We only traded picks that we currently have going into this year's draft. So that being said, pick 25 and 44 were the only picks we had to trade. The players we brought in improve every line. I do agree with that. Sean, I've been saying since Clarko came that 2026 will be the year North makes finals. Everyone laughed at me, but pretty close to coming true. We'll look so much better in 25 and start attracting big names at the end of that season and push in 26. It's happening. I think this is a really good take, and I did say this just before. I think the more games we start to win and the more our performance improves on field, the more likely it's going to be that we'll be able to genuinely attract and bring over bigger targets and bigger names in the off season. Dan Houston was a no this time around, but you know, in 12 or 24 months time, I feel like that would have been a realistic possibility. So, Sean, I do really agree with what you have to say, and I really like that take, and I think you were spot on. The only thing I would say is that we're actually making finals this year, 2025. Flag season, watch this space. Nick, we got who we were after, which is always a success. That being said, I'm still not a big fan of the idea of bringing in Jack Darling. My opinion, which is shared by so many, is that he's well past his use by date. It is what it is, though. Excited for Parker, Constanti, and Daniel. We touched on Darling already, so I won't go into that, but I do agree with everything else that was said. Okay, we may have coughed up a bit more than we should have for those guys, but that's fine. We'll probably split pick 2 and grab a couple of good kids in the draft. Go Roos. Here. And shout out Nick. He's such a big supporter of mine and I really, really appreciate it. So thank you, Nick. Orange Paradox addressed all of our major needs with the players we got. Key forwards, small forwards, rebounding defenders and leadership. The standards have lifted, so our players need to show it on the field. I do agree with this. I really hope that the players now, the existing list, they can sort of rise with those who are coming through the door. One thing we could have done is split pick 2. We still have plenty of time to do so. Yeah, we can do that from now until draft night. So we'll talk about that at a later stage. Brew, we planned and executed the plan. Now let's see if Clarko can gel them where the sum is greater than the individual. I like that. I really, really like that. I think it's all well and good. These guys in isolation have a lot to offer, but now it's time for us to come together as one and be able to work as a real unit and a real united front to be able to progress up the ladder. Bradley, Caleb Daniel down back to free up Colby to move into the middle. Absolutely love that move. I think it's time. I mean, we all know that run, Colby McKercher in the Gold Coast game. The kid can fly. He really, really needs some more time up the ground. Experience to help bank some wins, which, if you believe some in the media, will be pivotal to retaining LDU. Yeah, I do agree with that. I think that improvement and success can be shown on multiple different fronts, but ultimately the aim of the game here is to win games of football. And I think that if I was in LDU's position, I too would want to know that the improvement that we have started to see over the last 2 years is now translating into wins. EJ Willow, 10 out of 10 trade period, addressed experience in every third and added a small forward into the mix. Daniel for pick 25, the slightly overs, but if we did a future pick instead, we probably use 25 on a small forward anyway. That is a really good point as well. I like that a lot. Mitch Bates, and I love this from Mitch. I did speak about this in my last video. We were in about 9 or 10 games this year up until 3/4 time where we came into our shell and didn't get it over the line. With the experience of the 3 coming in, they know how to win those games of footy. Love what we did this trade period. Could not agree more. I think that's a really, really great point to make as well. Chris, not too bad if we can split pick 2 and possibly trade our future first into this year's draft round. I think it'll be a big tick. I agree with that. I never really, up until reading a few of your comments, thought about even bringing future first from next year into this year. I think if we do that, it probably shows a lot of confidence from within that we will be making a charge up the ladder. So you got to, sometimes take those risks and, looking to improve immediately for longer term sustainable success is a really, really big thing for us. So I would be really happy if that's what we decided to do. Dav, Brady turns our pick 2 and future first into 3 firsts this year, that it may be a defining period in this club's history. Massive call, but I really, really like it. Very bold. And I think there's still a lot to play out for North in this trade period for sure. Graham, it is obvious that we need leadership from senior players on the field, but that begs the question as to why we cleaned out all our senior players a few years ago. I think he's referring to that massive cull we did at the end of 2020. Well, we probably wouldn't have got the young guns we have now, but it did make it extremely hard to enjoy footy. I think it's a really interesting point. At the end of the 2020 season, we axed like 12 players from our list within 24 hours of the season ending. You've got serviceable players in there, the likes of Majak Dor, Mason Wood, Marley Williams, my favourite Jasper Pittard. I guess sometimes you do need to make those tough calls to be able to progress forward, and maybe that was a line in the sand moment for the club that we're actually going to go fully commit to a rebuild, which we hadn't really done before. A lot of those guys, while they did add a lot, maybe these are the tough calls that you need to make to move forward and to genuinely contest for a premiership. I do agree with you. It did set us back clearly, and it has been really hard to enjoy, but hopefully now we'll be rewarded for sticking around. So thank you for sticking around despite it's been really hard, and hopefully, we are only going to enjoy good times ahead. Moving on to Instagram, and I'm going to quick fire through these. Seamus said, A+, Brady absolutely nailed it. Still need to split pick 2 and bring our future first forward, but super stoked so far. Nath, about time Rawlings had some luck. A-grade trade period if we got Houston A+. That would have been nice, wouldn't it? Megan, got everyone we wanted. 4 players wanted to come to North. Future is bright. Love this. We haven't really touched on this too much. These players all elected to come to North. Even Caleb Daniel, who said he initially held off from officially requesting a trade, and then 2 hours before the trade period ended said, I want to go to North. I want to play under Clarko. And that probably put the Bulldogs under a little bit of pressure to trade him over, which I think is very, very, very positive and probably a really underrated sign as well. Dave, over the moon, was glued to my phone every day for any update. Go Roos. Matt, and I'm starting to see a theme here, rated highly. We got everything we wanted with time to split pick 2. Finally, A. Huey gave us a B+. And I think that is a fair, if I was going to just give us a rating, I think a B+ is really fair. Obviously, we were linked to Houston and we weren't able to really make much of an impact. And while most people maybe saw that coming, I think it would have been really, really telling if we were able to genuinely threaten to bring him through the door, but identified the needs, got what we wanted, and now we walk away significantly enhancing our list from where it was at the end of the 2024 trade period, and it only makes me even more excited to get going next year. We'll leave it there for today, guys. Thank you so much to everyone who did send in their thoughts. I absolutely love interacting with you all and talking North with you. I really want to make Kanga TV a place where the fans can have their feelings and their thoughts heard. So please make sure you join in the conversation in the comments below. Also over on Twitter and Instagram, we are Kanga TV Show. If you liked this video, if you like the videos I've been putting out so far, thank you so much for coming back. If you could like this video and subscribe, that would mean the world to me. And I will see you guys very, very soon.